Hi, everybody. It's Natalie from Creative Makers. It's so nice to see you. Hopefully people will be jumping in here pretty quick. If you haven't noticed, I'm not doing these every week anymore. I'm just sort of like fitting them in where I can since my schedule's gotten busier and, I got a life too. So I know that you guys don't mind, so that's great. Today, we're talking to Tina Arroyos. Hi.
Hi.
I met Tina a couple weeks ago. Hello, first two people. Hi, Chris. I met Tina a couple weeks ago through Margaret Garcia at a big art opening that for the collector Jaime Gutierrez. No,
Jaime Gutierrez.
Yeah, Gutierrez. Jaime Gutierrez and his fiance Yasmin curated the show. And you were there,
Yes.
and Jaime has some of your work.
No, not yet.
Not yet, but
this will be his first piece.
Oh,
back
you
here.
just went because you went.
I went because I knew some of the artists that were in the show, and I had actually gone to the soft opening the previous week, and I had remembered that I had owed Jaime and Yasmin a piece that we had discussed at the Celebration of Life for Raul Pizarro.
Oh, for Raul, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we'll talk about that.
So
anyway, that's how I met Tina. I was complaining to Margaret that there weren't very many Latina artists, and then Tina was presented to me. So this is my opportunity. So, okay, I'm going to start the interview. I only start with one question, and then it sort of jumps off from there. Okay.
Let's do this.
So I want to know what your creative life looked like as a kid. How did it start?
Non-existent.
What?
I didn't start until I was already in my 30s.
Okay, wait a minute. All right.
Skirt.
No. It's fine.
Right.
But sometimes people don't recognize what creativity looked like as a kid. So I want you to think about this. I mean, did you draw?
No.
You didn't draw?
No.
Did you pretend?
No.
What were you doing as a child?
Hiding in the trees.
I was going to say, were you working?
No, pretty much hiding in the trees, building forts.
Oh, well, that's all creative stuff.
Mostly by myself, just, you're going to trip. I'm in my 50s, and I just recently found out that I have ADHD, and I'm on the spectrum.
Oh, isn't that funny? I just figured out that I have ADHD too. I'm not on the spectrum, but I have figured that part out. It's very funny.
Yeah, I got full on diagnosis and everything, just like within maybe the past 2-3 months.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
All right, so okay, I'm going to go back to the question. So you didn't know any of this was available to you until you were in your 30s.
Correct.
So how did it uncover itself?
Therapy. I was in a therapy session. I was in my 30s. I'm actually in my 20s. I was always really high strung, always moody, didn't know why. Really anxious all the time. And my therapist had suggested, one time she was like, what was one time where you felt like at ease or something you really enjoy doing? And the only thing I can think of was making dioramas with my son when he was in school. So that's how I was like, I can make things. I see structure. I see like the way things are structurally. Because like I've always worked in manufacturing because I was always in manufacturing. I had to provide for my son, who I had when I was 17.
Oh, okay.
Yes, I got pregnant at 16, had my son at 17. So it was always making things for him. And he never wanted to play with toys or anything. He wanted a cardboard box. So I'm like, okay, like most kids, pots and pans. So I was like, let's. In elementary school, he had to build a California mission, like all kids do.
Mm-hmm. It's part of the California school thing.
Right. And one of the rules was you cannot use a store-bought kit.
Right. You have to make it all by hand.
So yeah, I went and I got the cardboard and I ripped it apart and made it look like the tile roof and everything. He ended up getting a C- on it, and that thing was sweet, right? I went back to that school and I was like, this is not a kit.
So you complained about your grade?
Yeah, I did.
My grade.
It was my grade. I was like, the audacity.
Did they change the grade?
Of course.
Oh, they did?
Yeah.
I can't even believe it.
Yeah, she did. And I was like, do you want all the scraps from the material? I said, I still have them. I was kind of pissed off. I was a crazy chola. But hey, you're not going to mess with my kid's grade.
Oh my gosh. All right. So you went to therapy and you're figuring out that this was the time that you enjoyed. And so then what happened? There's a cute little dog right here.
This is Opal.
You can hardly see her, but she's right here and she loves me and she's snorting. Anyway, so it uncovered itself. You were like, yes, it was while I was doing dioramas.
Yeah.
And then what was the next step?
I went home and I was like, hey, the therapist said I can have myself a little art station. So then I started doing that. And you
never considered that was an option before?
No. Because I was always working, always, doing things, prioritizing partying and hanging out with my friends other than doing things that were more constructive and more fulfilling, actually. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I didn't start doing art until I was in my 30s.
So when you started to do art, did you seek counsel in terms of like how to do things? Or were you just jumped in?
I just pretty much jumped in. I started making paper mache corazones.
And corazones are hearts.
Flaming hearts, kind of like that behind us.
And we'll talk about those.
So I was making paper mache corazones, and people, I had a lot of people, friends and stuff coming over, and they were like, oh, where did you get that? And I'm like, I made that. And they're like, no way, make me one. So I started making some for some friends, and then one day my comadre and I were in Uptown Whittier, and there was like a gallery.
Comadre is godmother.
Godmother.
Sorry, I have to translate.
Yeah, sorry. Comadre is, I'm the godmother to her children. So we were in Uptown Whittier at Casita del Pueblo, and we went in there, and she has a way with talking to people and saying, hey, you should be in this, store or whatever. So it was more artisanal arts and stuff. So I talked to the owner and we discussed it. And she was like, sure, bring your stuff in. I brought it in. She liked it. And that was Opal, I swear. She liked it. So for the past 15 years, I had sold my artwork through her.
Wow.
Because I really didn't like dealing like in social, because I was still, very introverted and, only had like small group of friends by now, kind of cleared out the mess. And I ended up moving to New Mexico for 2 years after that 15 years. And from there, the whole time I was in New Mexico, I didn't do art for 2 years.
What did you do in New Mexico then? To me, it's like if you go someplace and you can't do art, what do you do?
I was actually working for a jewelry manufacturer.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, that counts.
It kind of does, because what I do is I'm a production manufacturing planner. So what I ended up doing was learning and studying gold forging and casting and the whole process of silver. I ended up doing 400 Macy's stores of jewelry. It was called the Nambe line. So it's silver jewelry. It's really nice. It looks like liquid silver jewelry.
Oh, wow.
So I did the whole production plan to make all of this jewelry for 400 Macy's stores.
So you did that for 2 years.
I did that for 2 years, and I realized I wasn't ready to slow down like that, and I wasn't being inspired. So I told my wife, I was like, yeah, baby, do you want to come back to California? And she was like, no, at first, but then we thought about it. It was like, let's go back to California. So we came back and we decided on coming back and moving to Orange, which is where I'm actually from. I'm from Orange County, Santa Ana. Mm-hmm. And when we got here, it was kind of like, what am I going to do? Am I going to start doing art again? And we had only been here for maybe 2 years and COVID hit. So I was okay. And then I just started doing artwork again. And I started making the corazones again, taking them to Casita del Pueblo. And it was kind of like a realization where I was like, I don't want to make corazones anymore. I want to move on to other things, or I want to move on to other mediums. I want to explore a little bit more. So then I started making these giant, luscious lips with big giant pearls and like making them like with spikes and everything all over them. And I took them into Casita del Pueblo, which I know that wasn't really like what she sold out of her store and her gallery. But Diana Diaz, who also has her goods at Casita del Pueblo, is a purse designer.
Okay, she's another artist.
She's another artist. And she's seen my work there, the lips. And she was like, who is this person? I got to find this person. So she contacted me. It was right when COVID, everything started opening up again. And she started stalking me on Instagram. And I was like, who is this lady? I was like, I had to do a background check on her because I was like, who is this person? And I got the green light saying, okay. She was a cool person. So she asked me to come in and do a pop-up with her. It was called the Goddess Mercado. So,
and that's in El Sereno, right?
Yeah, that's in El Sereno. And then, so now, I'm like, okay. And it was kind of hard for me, like in the beginning, because I like the anxiety level and talking to people and being in public and everything. And I just told her, I go, you know what? I will do this as long as you put my booth next to yours. So I had to feel a sense of security or somebody that I knew that was going to be in this pop-up.
So the Goddess Mercado, it's an actual, I haven't been there yet. So it's an actual store, or is it what they just call the pop-up?
It's a pop-up. It's
but it's associated with like a brick and mortar place?
Yeah, we also have a brick and mortar.
Oh, okay. So there's a brick and mortar place called the Goddess Mercado.
That's the Goddess Mercado boutique. That came later.
Oh, okay. And then the Goddess Mercado is like the market.
The Goddess Mercado is all female or female identifying vendors, artists. It's open to female artists to come and display their artwork. We also started, well, I'm no longer a part of it because I moved on because I needed that. I'll get to that in a minute. But they started an art walk for female artists to come along, and you don't have to pay a vendor fee or anything.
Wow.
It's a suggested donation if you sell any of your art. Whoever's out there can contact the Goddess Mercado for information on it. So after the first Mercado, it was only original 12, and
12 artists, you mean?
12 vendors.
12 vendors, okay.
12 Latina-owned businesses. So I was one of the only artists in the original 12. So, what we ended up doing was creating a brick and mortar, which was called the Goddess Mercado Boutique, with the original 12 vendors. So
that's pretty forward thinking.
Yeah, so it started, and then it evolved, and then Diana, of course, she was like, we're going to start a queer Mercado. So I'm like, okay, now we have the queer Mercado, and that's the third Saturday of every month, and this is all located at the Civic Center in East LA.
Oh,
right there next to the sheriff's station.
Yeah.
And that one is all queer identifying artists and vendors and performers and all that stuff. So it's grown.
So I want to recap for just a second because I want to just make sure I'm understanding the timeline here. So you didn't do any art until you were in your 30s. In your 30s, you just started messing around, and especially with paper mache, and you were focused on the corazones or hearts that you were doing.
Yes.
And then you were selling them through the store in Whittier.
Yes, Casita del Pueblo.
And then you left.
For a couple of
years. You didn't do any art per se. And then you come back right before COVID and you start right back in. And you're doing all different stuff. So, I mean, really, you've only been doing this for a very short period of time.
Yes.
Okay. That's great. That's awesome.
But a very short period of time. So when COVID hit, I started experimenting with pour painting.
Because pours. There's a lot of people in the group that do pours.
I started with pours, and then from pours, I like the aesthetic of resin. And from resin, now after I'm done with resin, I kind of incorporated different kinds of clays. There's air clay, there's the 2-part resin clays. Like each time I would just level up with a different type of material.
Well, so, then let's pull. Why don't we? What? This is your first piece, right?
This is one of the first pieces that I started doing in 2016. It's just a Halloween mold.
It's a mold?
Yeah, that one is just a Halloween mold. It's very, very. Oh my gosh. So I think that was 2016.
So this is 3-dimensional, as you can see. She's got it tacked down to the back with wire. It's got a hole through it. This is a wood thing. So this is just a mold, but you kept this.
I actually found it recently because I'm clearing out my garage and turning my living room into my art studio, and I was like, I'm going to keep this because this is.
It's like a relic. It's a memento of where you started.
It's like, oh shit, the evolution of it. I was just like crazy. And then this was one of my first big resin pieces.
I'm going to move it forward. Okay, so this is a wood box, and there's a lot of glare here. I'm really sorry. There's not a lot I can do about this glare. I don't know. Nope, that's not going to help. So maybe if I just take it back a little ways. So it's got hearts and glitter. There's butterflies. Are these real butterflies?
No.
Oh, thank goodness.
I know. I couldn't do that.
And a very thick layer of resin. Can you talk about what inspired you to do this piece and how you did it?
So I came to the realization that the whole corazon thing came from my grandmothers who raised me. One grandmother was very Catholic in a sense where she had a lot of saints in the house. Mm-hmm. So that's where the corazons come from. Mm-hmm. And then the other grandmother that raised me was a nurse.
Oh, so it's almost like one hit the spiritual side and the other one hit the physical side.
Exactly. So I would just read her books and like study anatomy and just look at everything. So then I do a lot of regular anatomical hearts. And that's one of the drawings that I did. It's actually a drawing with resin.
They can't see it.
Yeah.
You want to pull it?
Go ahead.
Is it okay? All right.
Yeah. And I drew with resin.
It too is shiny and it's really beautiful. And I'm going to hold it at a distance in hopes that you can there. Oh, that's good. That's better. So you can see that there's a suggestion of the heart in there, and it's sort of messy and bloody, so to speak. Yeah, it's very cool though. I love that it's a suggestion rather than, so obvious. So it's got a little more.
What I did is I just studied I would practice and I would experiment with the different resins and the colors, the pigments, watching the viscosity, like how different colors reacted in the resins. So if you see, like I poured, but then it also seeped down into it.
So I'm sorry. So I know you said that this was a resin drawing.
Yes, I drew. I did my pour first, and then with a really thin, like a syringe, I drew the shape of a heart.
Oh, okay.
And then once the resin started to cure, it spread, and that's how you see the spread of the black inside.
And so I don't work with resins very much, so I'm going to ask this fairly obvious question. How do you color the resins? Do you just add paint to them?
No, I tried different paints. Different paints act differently when introduced to the resin. You have some that just tint. You have some that turn them like opaque. So it's kind of like with glass. You have transparent glass and then you have opaque glass. So it's kind of the same concept.
So in this case, I mean, this black is, it's I wouldn't call it opaque, but I wouldn't really call it transparent either. I mean, it's got transparent moments. So it is paint though.
That one is India ink.
It is India ink. Okay.
So I used different inks. I used different inks. I used different.
Do you find that the inks work better? Or does it just depend?
It just depends. It depends on the look that I'm going for. like whether it's going to be transparent or not. You know, it just depends on what I want to do with it.
I really love this piece. It's really beautiful.
Thank you. You can just put it.
I'm going to put it someplace safe, way over here. So you talked about the fact that you got tired of doing corazones.
Yeah, so then that's when I started doing the big lips.
But why did you get tired of doing corazones? Did you feel like you worked through all of your grandmother's stuff, or?
Kind of, like the whole therapy thing, and why was I doing that particular kind of art? And it was like, okay, I need to move on, and I need to express myself differently. I need to let those memories be where they need to be in order for me to move on.
Did you find that working on the hearts while in therapy, doing everything in tandem, was really beneficial?
Oh, absolutely.
That's good.
Because I'm like if you're carrying your baggage or whatever with you, there's no way you're going to move forward.
Right. You're going to just keep spinning in place.
Right. So this whole thing with the diagnosis and everything, and it's helped with the art. I'm more focused now.
So, I mean, did that help? I know that it helped explain exactly what was happening, and it becomes this big aha moment. You're like, right, no wonder this stuff's going on. Did it make it easier too?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, it totally made it easier. I was just having this conversation with my wife last night. Why I excelled so much so fast. I just recently, on Valentine's Day, I had a 7-pound cyst. Oh. And I had it removed. So now I have more energy. I feel good. I want to do things. I'm being more social. I'm going out now. I'm doing things otherwise I probably would never have met you.
Right, exactly.
Because I was in so much pain all the time from this whole thing that I had going on.
Well, of course, that thing stole.
Yeah.
Was stealing your life little by little.
Yes, it was. I was just like, I had no energy. I was always so tired, and I was saying, there's no way I would have been able to clean out the garage like I did yesterday because I was always sleeping on the weekends. So I'm like, watch out, because I'm coming. I'm so glad
you got that taken care of.
So am I.
That was probably a big relief too, sort of like the ADHD, knowledge, you're like, okay, let's get rid of it.
I just had this moment of like, you know what, I need to start taking care of myself because I feel like poop, and even 3 years ago, found out I was celiac. Had no idea. And this is the whole thing about Latinas, is that we are constantly taking care of everybody else besides ourselves. I think women, period.
I was gonna say, I hear you about Latinas, but I think this is a woman problem.
It's a woman problem that we don't take care of ourselves because we're too busy taking care of everybody else.
There's so many other things to do, and we're last on the list always. Yeah.
So after COVID hit, I was just like, I'm gonna take care of myself. So that's what I did, and this is where I'm at right now. And look,
pull another piece. Let's talk about one.
Let's talk about the borracho.
Yeah, let's talk about the borracho. Okay, so in Latino culture, there's a game called Loteria. It's sort of like bingo.
There you
go. And so there's cards that they cut called instead of numbers. It's scenarios.
It's caricature. A lot of people find it insulting. It's a good time with your family, and usually each family member is a representative.
I want to tell you that I'm Italian, and we play Loteria every year at Christmas and Thanksgiving for money. For big money, 25 cents.
That's how I made my money.
Anyway, so there are these caricatures. They're not always nice, but they're fun. I think they're fun, and I love the way that they're portrayed. But here's one of them. And this is El Borracho, which is the drunk. Sorry. But so you made this, and this is definitely on canvas. Talk about how you work this canvas out.
It's air clay, actually.
Okay. And air clay is something that you buy or something that you make?
This one I bought. I bought it. I wanted to see how it would work on canvas. This was like an experiment.
So, okay. So, and does this also have resin on top of it?
Yes.
Okay. So it's got resin on top. So you can see that there's clay and resin. So
it's 3-dimensional. If you turn it to this side, there's
there's relief, definitely bas relief.
So I wanted to see if I can do it with air clay, and it worked. And this was a commission piece for somebody, and this person and their boyfriend eventually broke up, and I was like, hey, did you guys break up with that guy? And she was like, yeah. And I was like, go get the borracho back and I'll buy it back from you. And she was like, you kidding? She goes, I'm just going to get it back just for the fact that I hate him. So I was like, okay, cool. Because I went and I paid her exactly what she paid me for it, and I bought it back because I really liked it.
It's a great piece.
I think it's hilarious, actually, and I posted it to a Facebook page once, and I got kind of scolded.
I'm sure.
Yeah, because of the caricature. Yeah. And I was like, well, you know what, dude? I felt like doing a Speedy Gonzalez next, but just to piss somebody off. But I was just like, okay, stop being spiteful. Stop it, Tina.
It's not worth it. I think this is really great, though. So then you just take the air clay and then you're just working it into the canvas, into the figures that you want?
I let it dry. I let the air clay dry, and then I carved out the relief.
Oh, so you put a big thick layer and then carved into it. Oh, see, that's exactly opposite as to how I might have done it or thought about doing it. Yeah. That's really interesting. There you go. Hot tip.
Hot tip.
Okay, so somebody's asking when do you apply the resin?
After it's been painted. Okay,
and then somebody says, when is the ink still wet? Try to keep it. Okay, all right, so I'm going to recap here just to make sure that I'm on the same page. So you put the air clay on, you let it dry, you carve into it and sculpt your thing.
Yep.
Then you paint it.
Yes.
With acrylic?
Yes.
So with acrylic paint, Clifton. And then once that's dried, then you resin the whole thing.
Then I resin the whole thing because the resin will secure and it'll actually be protective.
Right.
And it's really lightweight.
And yeah, I can attest. This piece, it's got texture, but it is very light.
Very light.
A pound maybe. My sister Laura, who's listening, she says, "Oh my God, every culture has a drunk." I love it.
Yeah, we do. Yes, we do. Everybody does.
Totally true.
It's that drunk uncle.
All right, I'm gonna excuse my finger, everybody. I want to just scroll through. I've been neglecting comments and stuff. Hello, everybody. Hello, Rosalind. Hello, Doreen. Hello, Sandy. Hello, Lynn. Jaime Gutierrez is watching. I know her. She's cool. That's what he says. Do acrylic inks do well with that? So
yes,
I would think that it would work the same.
I use acrylic for everything.
You're talking about the acrylic inks, the ones in the droppers.
Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Same. So there you go, Clifton. Laura's watching when you apply the resin, blah, 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 blah. Okay, we're caught up on questions.
The resin is at the very, very end once everything has completely dried. Because what happens with the resin, it's a chemical reaction. The chemical reaction will then bubble up and it will trap any moisture inside.
Which would be bad news.
Which will just jack everything up. Even if you add too much pigment to a resin, anything that's water-based.
Oh, because it never dries within the resin.
And then it just it bubbles up and it curdles. It's really, trust me, I've had a million mistakes. And it was like 2 years worth of experiments in the garage.
Of course. But that's how you learn.
Yeah.
Because if you don't do that, then you don't know.
Let's see. This piece is actually going to Tonali's studio today.
And I was just curious about how much this one weighed. I'm going to bring this up close. This one does not weigh very much, although it's a little top heavy, and we can talk about that. So this is a heart. It's got a hole carved into it, and it's got yet another heart with an eyeball inside it. It's pretty lightweight except for this top piece. There's skulls on top. We're in October, or almost in October, so we've got Day of the Dead coming. I know that this is in relationship to it.
Yes.
Okay, first let's talk about why is the top heavier than the bottom? Is it just because there's so much?
The bottom, the interior is styrofoam.
Oh, and this is not. This is all clay.
That's all clay.
Okay, and what kind of clay is this?
This is the 2-part, it's resin clay.
Okay, yeah, so when you say 2-part resin clay, just to make sure that we're clear, it's one kind of clay on one side, one kind of clay on the other. When you put them together, then there's a reaction and it dries and it hardens.
Yeah, it's hard as a rock.
Okay, does it afford you a lot of time to work with it before it gets hard?
You got about maybe 35 minutes, 35, 40 minutes.
You gotta work fast.
You gotta work fast.
So then the styrofoam, you put the resin clay on top.
On top, and then just smooth it out and sculpt it in.
And then, was this a full square and you sculpted this out, or
I cut it?
You just cut it and then added the hard end?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just so here, I'm bringing it closer again, so now you can see a little more detail.
So that's where the current work is at right now, is working with this material.
Now, you did this for a show?
This is for a show. It'll be dropped off today.
It's going out today, guys.
It's going out today. Be at Tonali Studio in East LA.
Now, I asked this question because I know people watching are curious. How much would this be?
That one is about $300.
$300. Okay, so and that's what they would sell it for?
That's what they're going to sell it for, but if you come to me, it's different.
That's okay. Yeah. I don't need to know.
Yeah.
But this is a $300 piece. And it's really beautiful. It's so beautiful. Anyway. Yeah. Now, when you did this, let's talk about actually the elements in it and what they meant to you and what you were trying to convey.
So, Tonali Studio is owned by Ofelia Esparza. Mm-hmm. She's like the master altar maker.
Oh.
Yeah, she's flown around the world to do cultural talks and lectures, and this will be at her show. It's the 10th anniversary of Spirit. I have the name of it. I'll send you the link. But the show opens on the 30th at Tonali Studio, and she's going to have this amazing altar for Day of the Dead. So that's what this was for, and it has to do with the monarch butterfly and the flaming heart, and of course the skulls for Dia de los Muertos, the spirits.
Mm-hmm. And I feel like the heart, like it all-seeing,
knows all. So, and this was my first time actually sculpting on styrofoam, actually. So.
It's a good tool for keeping a piece light.
Yeah, because I did have issues. I was like, the top is heavy.
Yeah.
But I was like, okay, it's kind of hard to figure out where you're gonna hang it.
Yeah. So but I mean, on a wall it should be fine.
Yeah.
But
I test everything. Yeah.
Okay, we have to talk about this piece because people were asking about it.
Hi, man. Here's your piece.
Hi, man. This one's for you, but this isn't what we were going to talk about. But I want to talk about this.
Yeah.
Okay, so you all were asking because in the picture that I posted of Tina's work, this was gray, and now it's no longer gray. This is now purple, and
it shifts purple and blue.
Yeah. And just look how big this is. I mean, this is bigger than my head. This is really rather large.
Hi. Oh,
so let's talk about it. What's it made out of?
The base in the back is canvas. I'm not done with the back. Excuse the back. Because I still have to put a battery pack in it. It's actually going to be a lamp.
Oh.
It's going to light up.
Oh, cool.
So the base is, I think, a birch base attached to a canvas with paper mache. Mm-hmm. The base is paper mache. The heart is paper mache. The flames and the frill is air clay. And this right here, since I thought it was going to be really delicate and fragile, I used that resin clay, so this is harder. But it's still really lightweight.
Yeah, I was going to say, I can't tell the difference in its weight between the clays. They all feel the same. Now, when you do your heart, what do you use as your mold or your armature?
A balloon.
Just a balloon?
Yeah. For this one, a balloon.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'll just cut it in half and then do.
And then when you're doing paper mache, are you using the classic starch and newspaper?
Yep.
Yep, just like kids?
Just like kids.
That's awesome.
Yeah, classic. It was the slow flow starch, the blue bottle.
Yeah, the big blue bottle.
That's all I use.
It's a Target though, if you need
and
to
Smart and Final.
And Smart and Final.
If I don't get there first.
Anyway, so I mean, this has like a lot of moving parts to it in terms of what happened when it was being made. So I take it that you started with this and then worked around from there.
I started with this, and then the paper mache portion of it. Then I let it sit for a while, actually, and it didn't have enough oomph for me. So I was like, okay, let me try the air clay. So I tried the air clay, and I was like, okay, this is the biggest piece that I've done with this type of flame. Mm-hmm. And I was kind of like, oh, is it going to stick? Is it going to, but it worked. It worked. Experimentation, always. And then I started using this clay, and it worked too. So I was like, all right, I'm onto something.
Now you said this is going to be a lamp.
This will be a lamp.
Okay, so I mean, this is all opaque. Where is the light going to come from?
The lighting there'll be light coming from here, and then there'll be an LED strip thread in this indentation on the back.
From the back. Oh, so it's going to light from
behind.
From two directions.
Mm-hmm.
So from behind and from this spot right here. Oh, that's super cool.
Yeah.
Now, you cut a hole into it.
I cut a hole into here, but I'm also, since I decided to use a battery pack and not a like an extension cord, so I still have to saw out this channel right here, and then I'll create like something to hold it, so it'll be flush against the wall.
And like a true engineer, it's hard to see, but she's got like a little schematic here of like where the battery pack's going to go and how it's going to all flow here. I mean, so it's not haphazard; it's completely planned.
Yeah, actually, because that's what I do for money.
Yeah, of course.
On the other end,
do you still have a day job?
Yes, actually, I'm a consultant for a biomedical company. I studied electronic engineering, computer theory, computer science. I worked in aerospace and defense for a very long time. So when you said schematic, that's why I laughed, because Margaret's always telling everybody I'm an engineer. I do have a lot of experience with drawings.
I say the word schematic because it's been imprinted on my brain. My dad was an engineer, and so it was never a drawing or a plan. It was always a schematic.
There's always a schematic.
Yeah, it was always a schematic.
Yeah.
Okay. So, yeah. I saw some things roll here. Let me. I love the Day of the Dead heart. Yes, it's beautiful, beautiful piece. What is it painted with? Do you need to prime it first? I know he's fishing for answers because he's working on his own sculpture stuff. So
I primed it with just a flat black primer, just a regular can, and then this color shift paint you can find at Michael's in the model car department.
Is it water-based? Is it?
Yeah.
It's an acrylic paint?
It's an acrylic
paint? It's all
paint.
acrylic. There you go, Clifton. It's all acrylic paint. So
I don't know if you could see that it color shifts from purple to blue.
It's hard. I think
hard.
You can see it. But I mean, it's shiny because of the paint, because of the color shift, not because there's anything special on it to make it shiny right now. It's all about the paint.
And it's still in process. I think I'm still gonna resin it because the resin will make it even shinier
and harder.
Because this is still kind of fragile, and then
it's actually quite sturdy. I mean, I've been holding it here and I've been touching the points and stuff, and there's nothing that is moving at all. It's pretty.
This right here just chipped off, but I'm good with
With me? I didn't do this, right?
No, I did it earlier. No, I did it earlier. But yeah, I'll just touch it up and it'll be fine.
Yeah, you can't even see it.
It was driving me
just a little bit of paint.
Yeah, it was driving me nuts earlier. So. But yeah.
It's quite beautiful. I can't wait to see what it morphs into.
I realized I have a bunch more to make because I'm having a solo show in February.
Where?
At Espacio.
Where is that?
On Boyle Heights, right there on Cesar Chavez.
Oh, cool.
So
my hood.
Yeah. What's up?
I'll be there. Yeah. Let's talk about this lamp. So, all right. So, what made you decide to make things here?
That's fine.
I don't want to move this here. I'm just going to bring this carefully over. What made you decide to put lamps? I'm going to give this to you.
Here you go.
Lamps or lights into your pieces. I mean,
it's when, okay, I remember like in the 80s that, when we used to all hang out at the mall.
Yeah.
There was this one store that had these heart lamps in them. Mm-hmm. And I always wanted one. But it was like, yeah, I grew up poor. You can't,
Right, you can't just buy it.
You can't just buy it or whatever. So I started making them myself.
And you just remembered that, and you're just like, I want to put lights and everything.
Yeah. So I started lighting everything up, and I sold a couple of these at the Mercado, but I made them as, like commission pieces. And what eventually happened is I ended up moving away from the Mercado because I was like, it's time to level up.
Right.
So this isn't Mercado art anymore. I'm heading more towards galleries and studios.
Yes, of course.
And this is actually for Jaime and Yasmin for their wedding.
How much give do I have? I can bring it this much closer. Oh, I think we just turned off the light.
Killed it.
All right. This too is paper mache.
Paper mache on the body. This is the 2-part resin clay, and then the base is also the 2-part resin clay. And the flames inside are made of epoxy resin. That's why they're transparent. You can see the flame come through.
They almost look like did you make them in a mold?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Those I did, yeah.
So
bless you, puppy.
So there you go. And it's very cool. Bless you. It is a really unique, beautiful piece.
Thank you.
Jaime, you're very lucky.
It's a Jaime piece.
Yeah, right, Jaime and Yasmin, you guys are lucky.
Actually, I met them at Raul Pizarro's celebration of life.
Yeah.
And I recognized them from a Facebook group, and I was like, hey, so sat and taught. And I was telling him that's Raul's piece.
Oh, it is?
That's one of his first pieces.
Wow. We'll talk about that later. Yeah. What a sweet man. So, where are you hoping that this is going to go? I mean, do you have aspirations of dumping your day job?
Absolutely. Who doesn't?
Some people like the dichotomy,
So what ended up happening, it was just really weird how things happened in the past couple of months. My old job called me back and they asked me to come back as a consultant, and that leaves me with free time, my own schedule. If I need to go somewhere, this is it's an opportunity. So when I decided after the surgery, and I was like, okay, I need to go back to work. What am I going to do? So I started driving Uber for a little while, and that also gave me, freedom to do what I wanted to do. And I had a free afternoon, and I had seen that Margaret Garcia was going to be painting in the garden by her house. And I think you guys go and paint there as well, right?
I was there last week, yeah.
So I was like, I'm going to go. I need to meet these people. I need to, evolve. I wussed out.
Oh, you did?
I wussed out because I felt like, oh my God, no way, because I had several opportunities to meet Miss Margaret, but I was like, there's too many people and I'm totally awkward and I didn't want to go do it. So the following week, I was like, I'm going to go do it. I'm going to be 30 minutes late because I'm always late to everything. And I know it's really bad, but I'm always late to everything. And then I showed up. I messaged her and I was like, are you going to be in the garden today? Can I have the address? And she was like, yeah. She gave it to me. And I showed up. We had a conversation and she asked, what kind of mediums do you work in? And I was like, this, and glass. And she goes, oh, you work on glass. That's doggy. She was like, you should come to my studio. And I was like, okay, when? And she's like, tomorrow. And I'm like, okay, I'll be there tomorrow.
Right.
So that's when I went in and we just got to work, and I was helping her put together the glass piece of Gloria Molina. So yeah. Then the following week or so, it was kind of like, I like working with you. I like working with you. We should do a show together. Think of a gallery you'd like to have a show at. So I was like, oh shit. things are happening.
Yeah, it's getting real.
I was like, what did I get myself into again? And then a few days later, somebody, Anahi, from the Muckenthaler had contacted me because at the Mercado the year before, somebody who was Lily Rocha from the Latino Resource Association, she came through and she bought a couple of my pieces. And she goes, I want to come back and bring you some canvases. And I was like, what are you talking about? I was like, yeah, right. Somebody's going to come and bring me canvases. She showed up at one of the other Mercados and she brought me these huge canvases. She's like, here, these are for you, paint. So I'm like, oh, okay, I guess I'm supposed to paint now. So Anahi had last year had asked me to submit a piece for the Latino Heritage Month at the Great Park in Irvine. Muckenthaler was in charge of putting artwork up. So I had done a piece, and it was an image from, I think it was like 1971, over here in Orange County in Santa Ana. Used to be a barrio. Well, it's still there. It's called Santa Anita. Mm-hmm. And it's an image of my aunt holding my hands and my uncle holding my other hand. And we're walking on gravel, like a gravel road, barefoot, and it's just like these three kids walking through the barrio. And that's the image that I submitted. And then I submitted the original as well. So it showed there. So Anahi, since Latino Hispanic Heritage Month was coming up again, she sent me another thing. And I was like, oh. And I was like, hey, we're going back and forth on Instagram. She's like, how you doing? And I told her about, meeting Margaret and stuff. And she's like, well, have it here at the Muckenthaler. I told her about the glass piece. She's like, have it here. So it's just evolved. So now we have like this whole group of glass artists that are now going to be in this show. And we like, oh my God, then Margaret's like, okay, we're going to go meet this person. We're going to go meet this person. And it's just evolved. So now we have a proposal and we have dates and we have a year to work on this body of art.
This is real.
It's absolutely real.
It's
happening.
Thing. Yeah.
It's happening.
This speaks to me about being true to who you are and sort of following your muse. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And like not overthinking it and just sort of saying yes.
Yeah.
Every time somebody presents you with something, you're just like, oh, okay.
I'm doing it.
I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So that's where things have been going. I mean, Margaret has been very gracious, and like she asked me to work on a toy project with her, creating cultural currency. Mm-hmm. Since I have the engineering background, figuring out, how components fit. I guess I'm going to be teaching a class now of toy making.
That's great.
So I'm like, she just called me. I didn't know I was going to do it, but
yeah, she's very good at these things. All right, let's see. All right, so you already talked about how did you insert the flames in the lamp?
The flames in the lamp were paint.
So there you go, paint.
A paint. So you can see. Let me take out the light base.
Okay. So that's the light that she just pulled out, and she has a hole at the bottom. This is very cool. I didn't even think about this, and then she just inserted and it just fits exactly. Mm-hmm. Manufacturing at its best.
Yeah. So what I ended up using to adhere it was the 2-part resin clay because it also acts like a glue. So you can see inside. Let me see
if I can. So did you run? Okay. So the flames are in a line, right? Mm-hmm. So they're flat. So you just added resin clay to the sides and adhered it to the sides, yes. And it just stuck there. I hope that makes sense, Georgia. So you just inserted that and then turned it around however you wanted it, and then inserted the clay to get it to stick.
Right.
Hopefully that
I
makes
kind of
sense.
hot glued it first to keep it in its place.
Oh, right.
And then
So
I went ahead and I used the epoxy resin clay to actually cement it in there, because it was kind of wonky and it kept folding back on me and it was irritating. But
Now, when you're doing pieces, how long do they normally take you? Do they take you a long time, or do you just flying through them?
I fly through them
You fly?
because I'm working on multiple pieces at the same time. I have to wait for curing, drying, and then I get bored and I'm like, oh, markers, let's draw something. That's recent. That's
I'm taking it off the
acrylic marker.
Like Posca's?
Yeah, exactly. That was my first time working with the medium, just like last month.
Here, let me give you this. So, I mean, this is a true creative maker here. I mean, she really is working through every medium possible.
Yeah, if it's here, I'm gonna do it.
Joshua Tree. So, place near and dear to my heart.
I love Joshua Tree.
Yeah.
It's not part of Earth.
So I know, right? So it feels like you are looking for bigger and better things. I mean, you're really looking to get bigger in your work in terms of who sees it.
Yes.
And what it means to you and other people. Do you have any plans on making big work? I mean, like big work, like big sculptural pieces?
I would love to. And by getting this consultant job, it's allowing me to expand. So as you see, I've turned my living room into a studio. The garage now is going to be my glass studio. I'm moving on to glass now. And I think working with resin, working through that is now going to allow me to understand the complexity of working with glass. Because the colors, the temperatures, everything you have to take everything into consideration.
Are you gonna get a kiln and stuff?
I just bought a small little tabletop one.
Did you?
Yeah, and I'm like gathering my tools and supplies and all that until I think in about maybe a month or two I'm gonna move on and start buying actual glass.
Yeah, it'll be a good time of year to do it too, with winter coming and working in high heat when it's highly hot outside, not that fun.
No.
But now that we're in winter, it's a good time.
And that's another thing with glass. Glass is seasonal for me. Most of the work that I do is through the season. Like this would be summer because I need the drying time. Because I can't do something like that in the winter because it takes forever to dry, and plus you run the risk with paper mache mold.
Oh, right.
Yeah, so I always make sure that it's either going to be in winter where I'm going to have a space heater.
Right.
Or if it's going to be in the summertime.
For those of you thinking about sculpture, that's a really good point.
Yeah, and then with glass, if you cut glass, it can't be too cold.
Because it'll shatter.
It shatters.
Yeah.
So I've learned all those things already.
Well, and then working in high heat is not too fun either. So you've got to be careful that you're not working in the dead of summer.
Especially if you're having hot flashes.
Yeah. There's that. That does get in the way.
There's that part too.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, it's been an adventure, and I'm here for it.
Yeah. If there's any questions you guys want to ask, feel free to do them now. Otherwise, we're going to get ready to wrap up here. Kathleen says that she loves it.
Thank you.
Yeah. This would be a great medium for you, Kathleen. I think working paper mache might be really fun. Kathleen says that she loves. That's nice. Let me make sure I'm not missing anything here. Everything's looking good. Okay, let's wrap it up with I don't know, something that you want other artists to know and to remember or to think about.
It's never too late to start. It's never too late to start.
Yeah.
I've been hearing a lot of people like, how can you work on so many different mediums? It's because it's there. Who's going to stop me?
Yeah.
It's kind of like, who's going to stop me? And
this group will never question you about that.
Awesome. And I'll try anything once. Well, not anything, but
Yeah, I got
you got it.
Yeah. If it looks interesting, you'll give it a go.
Yeah, and I have to be like interested in it. Otherwise, I'm gonna be like, no. Like I have a 3D printer right there. I still have to figure out, and it's been sitting there staring at me. So that's next. If anybody out there knows how to use 3D printers or anything like that.
What kind of air dry clay do you use? Is there
just
a
the
brand?
Crayola Magic Air Dry.
There you go. It sounds like it's inexpensive.
$20 for a bucket.
Yeah, when you say Crayola, I'm like, oh, can't be that much.
No, it's not. And it's like you go to Michael's, get a coupon, you're good.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, this would be good for you too, Georgia. Maybe for the pig. She's working on a pig project, pig sculpture.
Okay, so one thing about that medium is you have to work it. You have to stretch it. You have to pull it, because if you pull it right out of the pack, it's kind of crumbly and it doesn't work well.
Oh, so it needs to be kneaded.
It needs, yeah. So what I did is I hooked up a pasta roller through my KitchenAid, and I just roll it through like about 10 times, and then it becomes very elastic.
Oh, that's really good to know. I wouldn't have known that at all.
I usually don't share. I don't share my secrets, but I'm sharing.
But it's not a direction on the package or anything? Huh. There you go.
And when you're ready to smooth it out, dust it with maybe a cornstarch baby powder.
That's funny. As soon as you said dust it, I was like, cornstarch?
Yeah.
Interesting.
And that allows you to make smooth. Let me see, this is kind of dusty. It allows you to be able to smooth out the texture. So
this has got like nothing in it. No bumps.
Yeah, no bumps.
Yeah,
but a lot of dust. So what it allows you to do is to have a really smooth finish.
There you go. Sandy says, such an inspiration.
Oh, thanks.
There you go. All right, guys. So you've got it. Have a beautiful day today. Thanks for joining us. Like Tina says, it's never too late. So get out there and go do something fun.
Do it.
Yeah. All right, you guys. Till the next time. See you later.